For 17 million years, the Varathi had waited. In the cold silence of a distant star system, on the edge of a forgotten galaxy, their ancient observatory stood like a sentinel against time itself. The Varathi were a race of immense patience and pride, guardians of cosmic balance, sworn to watch over fledgling civilizations and decide when, if ever, they were worthy to join the greater galactic community. The planet they watched was small and fragile, its surface a swirling canvas of blues and greens. Life had stirred there eons ago in the primeval seas, evolving slowly, relentlessly. The Varathi called it Earth, a world unremarkable in the vastness of space, yet strangely captivating in its potential. The Watchers had waited for this world to rise. They had scanned its skies for signs of intelligence, measured the growth of its civilizations, and cataloged every artifact of its history with cold precision. Over millions of years, countless species had come and gone, fragile sparks in the darkness, but none had reached the threshold of true cosmic awareness. None, until now. On the observation deck of the Varathi station, a figure moved slowly, its 6 eyes glowing softly in the dim light. High Overseer Kale stood before the massive holographic star map, fingers tracing the distant dots of light that marked the stars of their watch sector. The blinking green dot at the center represented Earth. 17 million years, Kyle murmured, voice deep and resonant. And still they have barely grasped the skies. Around him, the other Varathi watched silently, their elongated bodies, coiled with the grace of predators waiting to strike or to judge. To them, the humans were little more than primitive animals, stumbling in the dark. They believed their own advanced civilization was a pinnacle of logic and order, a shining beacon far beyond any organic chaos like that on Earth. Then came the signal. It was faint at first, a strange flicker in the radio spectrum, a pattern, too deliberate to be natural. The Varathi scientists scrambled to analyze it. As the minutes passed, the pattern became unmistakably artificial, a burst of encoded data transmitted from Earth's orbit. Kyle's eyes narrowed. What is this? The room buzzed with tension. None had anticipated such an early message, not after all this time. The signal repeated, growing stronger with each transmission, carrying the unmistakable signature of human technology. But there was more, an embedded message that even the Varathi's most sophisticated decoders struggled to translate. It wasn't a declaration of surrender or a plea for alliance. It was a challenge. Kale felt a ripple of unease in his chest, an unfamiliar emotion he rarely allowed himself. The humans, with their unpredictable spirit, had suddenly shattered the endless calm of the Watchers. This changes everything, said Kale, turning sharply to face his council. One of the elders, a creature named Sorless, with crested ridges, framing his face, spoke gravely. For 17 million years we have watched and waited, believing ourselves alone in this vast cosmos. If humans have reached out, they may have become the spark we have been waiting for. Kyle's gaze hardened. Or they may be a threat to be extinguished before their chaos spreads. The Varathi debated fiercely, a storm of ancient pride, clashing with the dawning realization that their long solitude was ending. The galaxy, once a silent tomb of waiting, was beginning to stir. Far below, Earth spun obliviously, its teeming life unaware of the Watchers in the void. In the cities, humans continued their frantic race to break the bonds of their solar system, driven by hope, fear, and an insatiable hunger for knowledge. Kyle stared out the viewport, the pale blue orb glowing in the blackness. He thought of the countless worlds the Varathi had overseen, civilizations crushed under their judgment or quietly allowed to fade. But humanity was different. Their transmissions spoke of defiance, of laughter, even of rebellion. Such chaos was alien to the Varathi, and perhaps dangerous. A low hum filled the chamber as the station's systems powered up. The time of waiting was over. Kyle's voice was cold but resolute. Prepare the fleet. We will meet these humans, not as mere watchers, but as arbiters of their fate. As the station's engines thrummed to life, the vast void outside seemed to pulse with new energy. For 17 million years, the Varathi had waited alone. Now the game had begun. The silence of space shattered when the human fleet slipped out of the warp bubble, emerging suddenly near the Varathi outpost. The Varathi station, a gleaming fortress of dark alloys and shimmering energy shields, hovered like a sleeping giant amid a field of shattered asteroids. The humans arrived unannounced, defiant and unexpected. Admiral Lena Voss stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, the lead ship in the human flotilla, her sharp eyes scanning the alien station's imposing silhouette. The stars outside were cold and indifferent, but her crew's excitement was palpable. After centuries of Earth's struggle, of wars and endless politics, humanity had finally taken the cosmic leap. "Contact the station," Lena ordered. "Let's see what the Watchers have to say." Back inside the Varathi observation chamber, High Overseer Kale watched the view screens flicker to life. The image of the Pioneer appeared, a small angular vessel with a human crew visible on the bridge. Kale's 6 eyes narrowed. "Humans, they are bold. Too bold." The communication channel opened, and Lena's voice echoed through the chamber in clear, confident tones. "This is Admiral Lena Voss of the United Earth Federation. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and cooperation." The Varathi response was slow, deliberate, cold and calculated. "We are the Varathi, guardians of the cosmic order. Your presence here is unauthorized." Lena smiled, a flicker of amusement breaking her usually stern expression. "You've been watching us for 17 million years, right? Guess what? We finally woke up." The Varathi Council exchanged uneasy glances. This species was unlike any they'd catalogued, a blend of defiance, humor, and raw determination. But what unsettled them most was the unpredictability woven into every human word and gesture. "Your technology is primitive compared to ours," Kale stated, voice carrying the weight of millennia. "Surrender your fleet. Submit to our judgment and perhaps your species may be spared." Lena's laugh was sharp and clear. "Submit? Sorry, but we don't do that. Not anymore." The humans began probing the station's defenses with unorthodox methods. Instead of overwhelming firepower, they launched coordinated hacking attacks, sending bursts of chaotic code, fragments of Earth's digital culture, and even jokes into the Varathi systems. The Varathi's pristine algorithms stumbled against the messiness of human creativity. "Shields at 70%. Systems compromised," a Varathi officer reported, flustered. Kale clenched his claws. "What sorcery is this? They use humor as a weapon." On the Pioneer, Lena's voice crackled with energy. "They don't expect us to think like them. They think order is strength. We know chaos breeds opportunity." Meanwhile, on Earth, millions watched the live broadcasts in awe and fear. For the first time, humanity was no longer an isolated species clinging to its small blue planet. They were actors on a galactic stage, reckless and raw, but unmistakably alive. Yet, beneath the bravado, questions churned. What had driven humans to the stars so quickly? What secrets did they harbor beneath their surface? In a hidden laboratory on the Pioneer, Dr. Kiran Malik, a xenobiologist, studied strange fluctuations in the human crew's biosigns. "There's something unusual about us," she mused. "Something evolutionary. Maybe it's why we survived this long, why we're so unpredictable. It's like our biology is wired for chaos and adaptation." Back at the Varathi station, the elders debated furiously. "We must contain them," insisted Sorlus. "They threaten the order of everything we have built." "No," countered Kyle. "They may be dangerous, yes, but they are also a test, perhaps the one we have waited for." The humans, for all their quirks, had shattered the long silence. They had entered a game far older and more complex than themselves, and they were already rewriting the rules. As the standoff continued, an encrypted human broadcast suddenly pierced Varathi networks, a message of hope and defiance woven with Earth's greatest songs, art, and stories. It was a challenge and a promise. "We are here, we are unpredictable. We will not be controlled." Kyle felt a flicker of something long forgotten. Curiosity. For the first time in 17 million years, the Watchers were uncertain. The humans had made their first footprint, but the path ahead was uncharted and dangerous. The cold void between stars turned red with the flash of plasma as human and Varathi ships clashed for the first time. What had begun as tense words and probing signals now erupted into raw conflict, a deadly dance where every move tested the limits of strategy, technology, and willpower. Admiral Lena Voss stood at the helm of the Pioneer, the flagship battered but unbowed. Around her, human pilots pushed their aging vessels to the edge, weaving through energy blasts and debris with a mix of reckless courage and instinctive precision. "Status report," Lena barked, eyes scanning the volatile battlefield. "Shields at 50%. Hull integrity holding," came the voice of Commander Tarek. "Varathi tactics are predictable, rely too heavily on formation and overwhelming firepower." Lena smirked. "Good. Then let's give them something they don't expect." Using a combination of guerrilla maneuvers and rapid hacking strikes, human ships slipped through the gaps in Varathi formations. They disrupted the enemy's communication networks with bursts of chaotic code, sowing confusion. The Varathi fleet, confident in their millennia-honed discipline, stumbled. Back on the Varathi station, High Overseer Kale's 6 eyes flickered, with frustration and something closer to respect. "They fight like wild beasts, but with a cunning we did not foresee." Despite the overwhelming firepower arrayed against them, humans survived through adaptability and unpredictability. Where Varathi ships moved like clockwork, humans were erratic, creative, using debris fields as cover, launching decoy drones disguised as fragments of the battlefield, even employing what appeared to be psychological warfare. Sudden bursts of music and laughter transmitted directly into Varathi comm channels, disorienting the disciplined warriors. In the midst of the chaos, a young Varathi pilot named Sarah found herself face-to-face with a human fighter. The human pilot's eyes were wide with fierce determination, but also something else: curiosity. Sarah hesitated, sensing a strange kinship in this enemy's reckless bravery. Was this what the Varathi had been waiting for? Suddenly, a violent shockwave tore through the battlefield. The Varathi flagship shuddered violently as a massive energy pulse erupted nearby, an unknown force shaking the very fabric of the conflict. "Status?" Kyle demanded. "Unknown origin. Not human technology," reported a scientist. "Something is happening on the planet below." On Earth, deep in the jungles of the Amazon, strange ripples pulsed through the atmosphere. A previously dormant artifact buried beneath layers of ancient soil and mystery began to hum with awakening energy. The artifact was not human, but it responded to the growing presence of humans in space, an ancient beacon linked to something far older and darker than anyone suspected. Back in the battle, the Varathi forces faltered, their sensors overwhelmed by interference. Humans used the chaos to press their advantage, pushing deeper into the enemy perimeter. But the Varathi were not done. Kyle ordered a brutal counterattack, unleashing a devastating weapon that blasted a path through the human ranks. The Pioneer rocked violently, alarms blaring. "Damage report," Lena shouted, gripping the controls. "Engine systems failing. Hull breach in Section 4. Desperation gripped the human fleet, but they refused to yield. "Evasive maneuvers. Deploy countermeasures," Lena ordered, rallying her crew. Amid the turmoil, Dr. Kiran Malik monitored the biosigns of the crew. "Our unpredictability is not just strategy," she whispered, almost to herself. "It's evolution. When faced with annihilation, humans adapt faster than any known species." Suddenly, a transmission cut through the battle noise, raw, emotional, and haunting. A human pilot's voice speaking over open channels. "We may fall today, but we fall free. Remember Earth. Remember who we are." The words struck a chord, even among the cold Varathi warriors. Some hesitated, their disciplined hearts stirring with doubts. Kale's gaze hardened. "No mercy. We are the custodians of order. We will end this chaos. As the battle raged on, the ancient artifact on Earth pulsed brighter, sending a shockwave that rippled through space and time. The very rules of engagement shifted. For 17 million years, the Varathi had believed themselves the universe's ultimate arbiters, but humanity's deadly dance had just begun, and it was changing the game in ways no one could have predicted. The battle had ended, not with a decisive victory, but with a stalemate carved from exhaustion and uneasy respect. Both sides counted their losses, but beneath the battered ships and smoldering ruins, a new war was quietly beginning, a war of ideas. High Overseer Kyle sat in the Varathi Council chamber, the grand hall carved from shimmering black stone and lit by softly glowing crystals. The Varathi elders debated furiously. Some called for annihilation, others whispered of diplomacy. But Kale's mind was restless, haunted by the humans' audacity and unexpected resilience. They fight not just with weapons, Kyle said softly. They fight with hope, with passion, with chaos. It is unlike anything we have faced. Hope is a weakness, Sorlus snapped. Their chaos will be their downfall. We must crush them before their madness spreads. But Kale shook his head. No, their madness is their strength. A decision was made to open a secret channel and send an envoy to the human flagship, not as conquerors, but as negotiators. If the humans had ideas that could unsettle the ancient Varathi order, they would need to understand them before the galaxy tore itself apart. The human flagship, the Pioneer, was a fortress of battered steel and stubborn dreams. When the transmission came through, a quiet request for parley, it was met with suspicion but also curiosity. Lena Voss herself agreed to meet the alien envoys aboard the station. The chamber where humans and Varathi met was vast and alien, its walls pulsing with ancient energy. Lena stepped forward, flanked by her closest officers. Opposite her stood Kyle and his delegation, the Varathi's serpentine forms radiating an aura of ancient authority. Kale's voice was calm but penetrating. You have challenged us, disrupted our order, and survived. But why do you fight so fiercely? What drives a species so young to defy the galaxy itself? Lena's eyes burned with fierce pride. Because we have no choice. We were born in chaos, forged by survival and struggle. We don't submit to destiny, we shape it. Every mistake, every failure made us stronger. She gestured toward a holographic projection of Earth, images flashing of cities, wars, celebrations, and art. Our strength comes not from control but from hope, creativity, and sacrifice. We fight for each other, not for power or perfection. One of the Varathi elders scoffed. Sacrifice is folly. Logic and order have built the galaxy for eons. But logic alone is not enough, Lena countered. Without hope, without passion, a civilization dies from within. Your perfect order may last longer, but it is brittle. Our chaos is life. Kale felt a strange stirring inside him, an old feeling long buried beneath layers of tradition, curiosity. The humans' words resonated with something he could not dismiss. Over the next weeks, the envoys remained aboard the Varathi station. Human diplomats shared stories of Earth's struggles, wars that nearly destroyed them, moments of kindness that saved them, art and music that lifted spirits in the darkest times. One evening, in a rare moment of quiet, Kale asked Lena, "Do you believe your chaos can change the galaxy?" Lena smiled softly. "I don't know if it can change the galaxy, but it changed us, and that's enough to start." Meanwhile, unrest brewed within the Varathi ranks. Traditionalists saw the talks as betrayal. A faction led by Sorlus plotted to seize power and destroy the humans before the fragile peace could take root. Back on Earth, the awakening ancient artifact pulsed with growing energy. Dr. Kieran Malik warned the fleet, "This is not just a relic. It's a signal, a beacon calling something far older and far more dangerous." The humans and Varathi alike realized the stakes were far greater than their conflict. The galaxy was not waiting for them. It was awakening. As tensions between factions grew, Lena and Kale worked together to forge a new understanding. A fragile alliance built on respect, curiosity, and the promise that the galaxy could be more than the sum of its old orders. But deep shadows lurked. Old fears and ambitions threatened to shatter the new hope before it could bloom. The spark of rebellion had been lit, not just in battle but in hearts and minds. And now, the question was, whether it would ignite a revolution or consume them all. The fragile truce between humans and Vorathi was still new, barely a flicker against the darkness. But the galaxy had far older horrors stirring, something that neither humans nor Vorathi could face alone. It began with a ripple in space-time, a disturbance sensed first by the Vorathi's most sensitive instruments. The ancient artifact on Earth had awoken, sending a beacon across the stars. The signal carried a warning, an echo from the depths of time itself. Kale's voice was grim as he addressed the council. "We face the Devourer." Murmurs swept through the chamber. The Devourer was legend, a cosmic predator that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing but void in its wake. A force of destruction so immense that entire civilizations vanished before it. 17 million years ago, Kale explained, the Devourer nearly destroyed this sector. We have kept it dormant, but the artifact's awakening may have reactivated its hunger. On Earth, Dr. Kiran Malik monitored strange energy surges pulsing from the artifact. "It's like a beacon calling the Devourer home," she warned. The fleet command. The humans and Vorathi scrambled to understand the threat. Their old hostilities now seemed trivial beside the shadow looming over them all. Admiral Lena Voss stood before her crew on the Pioneer. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about survival, for every life in this system." Kale and Lena met in a tense strategy session aboard the Vorathi station. Their technologies were incompatible, their tactics at odds, but they shared a single goal: to stop the Devourer before it consumed them all. Lena proposed a daring plan. "We combine our strengths, your superior long-range sensors, our unpredictability and rapid adaptation. We create traps, lure the Devourer into kill zones." Kale was skeptical. "Your methods are reckless." "And your methods are slow," Lena shot back. "We don't have time." Together, they coordinated a fleet unlike any before. Vorathi, warships bristling with energy cannons and precision shields, flying alongside human frigates and fighters that darted like swarms of angry hornets. The first encounter was catastrophic. The Devourer emerged from the darkness like a living void, a massive, writhing entity of tendrils and energy, swallowing stars and planets as it advanced. Its hunger was insatiable, its presence warping space and time. Human and Vorathi ships poured everything into battle, unleashing torrents of firepower and electronic warfare. But the Devourer shrugged off attacks like a beast impervious to pain. Pioneer's sensors registered a massive energy core pulsing at the creature's center, the heart of the Devourer's power. "Target the core," Lena ordered. "Everything we have." In a desperate gambit, the humans launched a strike team deep into the Devourer's tendrils, piloting fragile craft into the living nightmare. Vorathi energy beams carved paths through the beast's flesh. But the Devourer fought back viciously. Ships were shredded, crews lost. Back on the Vorathi station, Kale watched the chaos unfold with growing dread. "We face extinction." Yet in the chaos, something unexpected happened. The humans' chaotic tactics, once derided as reckless, began to reveal weaknesses in the Devourer's defenses. Rapid, unpredictable strikes created openings that the Vorathi's precision weapons exploited. "We fight as one," Kyle said quietly. "Together." As the battle raged, a traitor struck in the shadows. Sorlus and his faction had seized control of a key Vorathi command node, launching an unauthorized attack on the human fleet. The fragile alliance fractured in an instant. Blood spilled between former allies. Lena's voice crackled with fury. "They've betrayed us." The battle splintered, the Devourer's tendrils reaching ever closer. It was a race against time, and treachery. In a final, desperate act, Lena and Kyle coordinated a joint strike, human pilots diving into the Devourer's core as Vorathi cannons unleashed everything. The core exploded in a blinding flash, tearing a hole through the creature's mass. The Devourer howled in rage, retreating into the void, but not destroyed. The cost was staggering. Fleets shattered, worlds scarred, alliances broken. But humanity and Vorathi had survived. As silence fell over the battered battlefield, Lena turned to Kale. "We couldn't have done this alone." Kale nodded, weariness etched in his eyes. "Perhaps the galaxy needs us both. Together." But beneath the victory lay a chilling truth. The Devourer was only wounded, not dead. Somewhere out there, it waited, hungry, and the ancient darkness was far from over. The galaxy lay scarred in the wake of the Devourer's retreat. Star systems burned, fleets shattered, and the fragile alliance between humans and Vorathi trembled on the brink of collapse. Victory had been won, but at a terrible cost. Admiral Lena Voss stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, the weight of loss pressing on her shoulders. The silence between the stars was no longer peaceful. It was heavy, filled with unspoken questions and the memory of lives lost. "We did what no one thought possible," she said quietly to her second-in-command, Commander Tarek. "But it wasn't enough." Tarek nodded. "The Devourer lives, and now we're vulnerable." Lena's eyes narrowed. "Vulnerable or not, we're not backing down." Across the Vorathi station, High Overseer Kale paced the ancient chamber, his 6 eyes reflecting the flickering star maps. The council was fractured. Sorlus's betrayal had deepened old wounds, and many Vorathi questioned the wisdom of alliance with such unpredictable creatures as humans. "We cannot trust them," Sorlus argued bitterly during the last session. "Their chaos nearly destroyed us." Kyle's voice cut through the room. "Their chaos also saved us." The chamber fell silent. In the quieter corners of the station, human diplomats and Vorathi envoys worked tirelessly to mend broken bonds. Lena and Kale met often, each meeting a fragile dance of respect, suspicion, and growing understanding. One evening, as stars glittered beyond the viewport, Kale confided to Lena, "I have seen civilizations rise and fall over millions of years. I feared humanity would be a brief spark, wild and foolish. But you endure." Lena smiled, tired but resolute. "We adapt. We survive. It's in our nature." Meanwhile, Dr. Kieran Malik's research revealed troubling new data. The ancient artifact on Earth was more than a beacon. It was a prison, holding back something far older and darker than the Devourer. "We may have only delayed the inevitable," she warned. "There are forces awake now that will not rest." On Earth, governments scrambled to rebuild and prepare. The revelation of alien life and the cosmic threat shattered old paradigms. Humanity stood united, yet anxious. Back on the station, a covert meeting unfolded. Sorlus and his loyalists plotted to seize control, believing only a return to old order could save their people. Their shadow grew in the silence, waiting for the right moment. Amidst the tension, unexpected alliances formed. A young Vorathi warrior, Sarah, secretly met with human engineers, fascinated by their resilience and creativity. "Perhaps we can learn from each other," she said quietly. Lena watched the uneasy peace with guarded hope. "If we survive this, it won't be because of strength alone. It will be because we dared to trust each other." But trust was fragile. As the Devourer's shadow receded, new dangers emerged, from within and beyond. The galaxy was changing. The Watchers had awakened a fire they could no longer control, and the next chapter was waiting to be written, in blood, courage, and hope. The uneasy peace between humans and Vorathi teetered on the edge of collapse. The scars of war ran deep, not just on ships and planets, but within hearts and minds. Trust was a fragile thread, stretched thin by betrayal, fear, and old wounds. In The shadowed corridors of the Varathi station, whispers of rebellion swirled like smoke. Sorlis, once a respected elder, now led a growing faction determined to reclaim control by any means necessary. To him, the humans were a contagion, chaos incarnate, and the Alliance a dangerous experiment doomed to fail. "We have allowed weakness into our ranks," Sorlis declared to his followers. "This alliance with humans will destroy us. Order must be restored." His words found eager ears among the disillusioned. The losses from the battle with the Devourer had shaken confidence. Many questioned Kale's leadership, whispering that peace with humans was folly. Meanwhile, on the Pioneer, Admiral Lena Voss felt the weight of fractured loyalties. Her crew was weary but resolute, yet even among them doubts festered. The horror of the Devourer's assault lingered like a shadow, and the fragile hope of alliance was threatened by fear. A message arrived from Kale, urgent and coded. "We face a threat from within. Sorlis moves against us. We must act." Lena gathered her senior officers. "We fight an enemy outside, and now one inside. We can't afford to tear ourselves apart." The first signs of rebellion erupted suddenly. Varathi soldiers loyal to Sorlis seized control of a weapons depot, threatening to ignite civil war. Kale, torn between duty and loyalty, confronted Sorlis in a tense council chamber meeting. "Your rebellion will destroy everything we have built," Kale warned. Sorlis's eyes burned with fanatic conviction. "You betray our people by trusting the humans. They bring chaos and with it, ruin." The confrontation escalated into violence, fracturing the council and igniting open conflict within the station. Amidst the chaos, Sarah, the young Varathi warrior who had embraced the alliance, worked to mediate. She sought Lena's counsel, pleading for a peaceful resolution. "We cannot let fear undo us," Sarah urged. "If we fight each other, the Devourer will return, and we will be helpless." Lena nodded, feeling the crushing weight of leadership. "Then we must stand united no matter the cost." The rebellion spread like wildfire, splitting the Varathi into factions. Human engineers were caught in the crossfire, their efforts to repair damage stalled by violence. In a daring move, Lena led a small strike team deep into the station to rescue trapped civilians and diplomats. The mission was perilous. Every corridor held danger, every shadow a potential enemy. As they fought through the chaos, Lena confronted Sorlis face to face. The elder's hatred was a stark contrast to her determination. "You cannot win," Lena said firmly, "but we can survive, only if we stand together." Sorlis sneered. "Survival is for the strong. You are chaos incarnate." The clash was interrupted by an emergency alert. The artifact on Earth was emitting a new, ominous pulse. The warning was clear. The galaxy's ancient darkness was stirring again. Kyle, battered but unbroken, sent a broadcast to all factions. "This rebellion threatens our survival. We must unite or perish." The message echoed across the station and the fleet, but the fractures were deep. In the quiet aftermath, Lena and Kyle stood together, gazing out at the stars. "We may be broken," Lena said, "but not beyond repair." Kyle nodded. "The galaxy demands more than survival. It demands hope. We must find a way." As the shadows of war deepened within, the true battle for the future was just beginning. The Varathi station trembled beneath the weight of civil war. Fires burned in once pristine halls, and the echoes of battle ricocheted through the cold corridors. Yet amidst the chaos, a fragile hope flickered, one born not of weapons or power, but of unity. Admiral Lena Voss stood at the forefront of the resistance, flanked by human and Varathi allies. The rebellion led by Sorlis had splintered the station, but it had also galvanized those who believed in a different future, a future where chaos and order could coexist. High Overseer Kyle, wounded but resolute, commanded the loyalist forces. His once unshakable faith in tradition was tempered by the lessons of humanity's fierce spirit. He moved among the troops, rallying them not just as a leader of an ancient race, but as a partner in something new. Today, we fight not just for survival, but for the promise of what we can become. Kyle declared, his voice steady despite the turmoil. In the heart of the station, the final confrontation loomed. Sorlus and his followers had barricaded themselves in the central command, wielding stolen weapons and fanatic resolve. Their vision of purity was narrow and merciless, a future without the chaos humans brought. Lena and Kyle led a combined force to breach the barricades. As they advanced, Lena's mind drifted back to the countless battles and losses that had shaped her people. The devourer, the betrayal, the fragile alliance, it all led here. "Remember what we fight for," she whispered to her team. "Not power, not control, freedom." The breach was fierce. Sorlus's forces fought with desperate fury, but the combined might of humans and loyalist Varathi was relentless. In the heart of the conflict, Lena confronted Sorlus once more. "This ends now," she said, her voice calm but unyielding. Sorlus's eyes blazed. "You have destroyed our legacy." "No," Kyle said, stepping forward. "We are forging a new one." With a final surge, the rebellion crumbled. Sorlus was captured, his vision broken but his spirit defiant. The station was bruised but alive. In the days that followed, the survivors set about healing. The ancient artifact beneath Earth's surface pulsed steadily, no longer a beacon of destruction but a symbol of awakening. Dr. Kiran Malik and her team worked alongside Varathi scientists to understand its secrets that spoke of balance, resilience, and renewal. Human and Varathi engineers rebuilt shattered systems, blending technology and culture. Music, once a weapon of confusion, now became a bridge between species. Stories of sacrifice and courage were shared, weaving new threads into the tapestry of a united future. Lena and Kyle stood together on the station's observation deck, gazing out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and uncertain, but for the first time in millennia, it felt alive with possibility. "We have waited 17 million years for this moment," Kyle said softly. 17 million years of waiting," Lena replied. "And now, we begin." The alliance was no longer fragile. It was a force born of fire, forged in battle and tempered by hope. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity's chaotic spark had become the light that would guide them all.